Greetings, explorers of the shadows and seekers of hidden truth. You have crossed the threshold of time and arrived at the portal of the unknown, where forgotten words come to life and ancient revelations echo in our present. Here, we do not merely unearth mysteries, we re-examine the narratives that have shaped our understanding of the divine and the human. Today, we will dive deep into the secrets of the Genesis Apocryphon, an enigmatic manuscript that not only expands on the events of creation, but also rewrites the primordial history of humanity and reveals the astonishing role of angels. But what exactly can this lost text reveal that the official tradition has concealed? Why were these writings forgotten, banned, and cast into the shadows? As we analyze its passages, we uncover a world where the events of Genesis intertwine with unknown versions of human origins. Unlike the conventional biblical narrative, this manuscript presents disturbing details about Adam and Eve, the first human descendants, and the celestial beings surrounding them. More than that, it exposes nuances that challenge the traditional understanding of creation and raises questions that may shake the very foundations of what we believe to be true. Written in Aramaic, the Genesis Apocryphon was rediscovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947, hidden for centuries in the caves of Qumran. Its astonishing content appears to blend known stories with alternative accounts, presenting not just an expansion of the biblical narrative, but also hidden aspects that were suppressed over time. But why were these stories removed from the official scriptures? What was so dangerous about these words? As we delve into these forgotten pages, we are confronted with passages that detail the relationship between humans and angels, the divine role in shaping humanity, and even fragments that seem to echo ancient forbidden teachings. Are these accounts mere myths, or are we facing truths that were never meant to be known? Among these questions, we find stories of patriarchs who had direct encounters with celestial beings, apocalyptic visions, and mysteries surrounding sacred bloodlines. But these are not just stories meant to entertain. They hold a profound impact on how we interpret biblical events and the invisible forces at play in our reality. If the traditional version of creation omits certain details, what was the true purpose behind these omissions? What can these secret records teach us about our own origins and destiny? Now, prepare yourselves to enter uncharted territory, where the secrets of ancient times will be revealed and the shadows will give way to the light of forgotten knowledge. The Apocryphal Genesis, found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, presents astonishing details about the genesis of humanity and the hidden events behind the traditional account in Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 and 27. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. This well-known passage has been interpreted in various ways throughout the centuries. But the central question remains, who are the us mentioned in this verse? Mainstream religious tradition has often attributed this phrase to a majestic plural, a linguistic way to emphasize divine sovereignty. However, apocryphal texts, including the Apocryphal Genesis, offer a radically different interpretation. They suggest that angels and celestial beings actively participated in the creation of humanity, not merely as observers, but as direct agents shaping the first man and woman. This perspective completely alters the traditional narrative, implying that humanity was not created solely by God's command, but rather through the intervention of a celestial hierarchy that played a key role in transmitting divine knowledge to early humans. If this theory is true, the implications for our understanding of creation are profound. It would mean that humanity did not emerge from a singular, isolated act, but rather through a process carefully overseen by higher beings. The idea that angels were involved in creation is not exclusive to the Apocryphal Genesis. Other apocryphal writings, such as the Book of Enoch, also reference direct interactions between celestial beings and early humans. But why was this knowledge suppressed? Some scholars believe that omitting this aspect from the official tradition was a way to centralize authority over spiritual knowledge and prevent humanity from seeking a deeper understanding of its origins. If angels played a role in creation, it would suggest that they also served as teachers and guides, sharing sacred knowledge that could reshape our perception of the divine and the spiritual realm. Furthermore, the very concept of being made in the image and likeness of God takes on a new meaning in this context. Does this similarity refer only to the spiritual nature of humanity, or could it imply something deeper? If angels were involved in creation, our divine likeness might signify a direct connection to these celestial beings, perhaps even a shared spiritual lineage. These revelations lead us to an even more intriguing question. If angels were the instructors of early humanity, could all the knowledge we possess today have originated from this celestial transmission? This could explain why ancient civilizations worldwide share myths of divine beings who imparted wisdom on astronomy, agriculture, writing, and hidden sciences. Could these celestial beings have been responsible for spreading the sacred knowledge that shaped the foundations of early societies? This hypothesis raises another unsettling question. Is it possible that these angels not only assisted in humanity's creation, but have continued to influence its development throughout history? If so, what is their true purpose? Are they guiding humanity toward a higher destiny, or is there something more enigmatic behind their intervention? As we delve deeper into the hidden records of the Apocryphal Genesis, we enter a realm of mysteries that challenge the traditional understanding of human history. And as we continue this investigation, new revelations emerge, shedding light on a past that may have been deliberately erased from collective memory. According to this manuscript, Adam and Eve were not merely the first humans, but rather beings of a unique nature, endowed with a pure spiritual essence and created with a purpose far beyond mere earthly existence. The Genesis Apocryphon suggests that they were not just the ancestors of humanity, but rather guardians of celestial knowledge, beings whose connection with the divine was far deeper than we can imagine. They were conceived to dwell in a state of perfection, not just physically, but spiritually, being direct heirs of divine wisdom. However, this closeness to the Creator and access to hidden truths of the universe made their existence precarious, a delicate balance that could be undone by a single transgression. From this perspective, the figure of the serpent in Eden, traditionally identified as Satan, takes on a new and unsettling identity. This being, according to apocryphal interpretations, was not merely a cunning animal, but rather an entity of high rank among the angels, a bearer of divine secrets that were forbidden to mortals. Here, the story takes on a much deeper tone. The serpent did not simply induce humanity's fall. It may have been a messenger of rebellion, the one who brought to the world knowledge that was meant to remain sealed. Genesis 3:5 contains one of the most enigmatic statements in the Bible. For God knows that in the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. This verse is often interpreted as a lie told by the serpent to deceive Eve, but what if this statement was, in some way, true? The Genesis Apocryphon raises the possibility that the forbidden fruit was not just a test of obedience, but rather a barrier between humanity and knowledge reserved for celestial beings. What would have happened if Adam and Eve had never eaten the fruit? Would they have remained in a state of ignorance, confined to paradise without access to the understanding of good and evil? Or was their original destiny to eventually acquire this knowledge, but through a process guided by God Himself? If the serpent truly revealed something outside of the appointed time, then its action was not merely temptation, but a subversion of the divine plan. This leads us to an even more disturbing question. Was this the real reason they were expelled from paradise? Traditional belief suggests that disobedience alone caused humanity's fall, but the Genesis Apocryphon implies that the true sin was the premature acquisition of forbidden knowledge. If Adam and Eve's eyes were truly opened, then it would mean that humanity had gained a perception previously restricted to angels and even to the gods themselves. Did this pose a threat? If humans were created to be the guardians of celestial knowledge, why was that very knowledge denied to them? The possibility that emerges from these texts is that there were truths kept secret, reserved only for the higher beings. Gaining access to these truths prematurely would have shattered the cosmic balance, forcing God to banish from Eden before they could go even further and reach a level of understanding that would make them akin to the very angels. But there is an even more intriguing detail. Is it possible that being expelled from Eden was, in fact, a liberation? The Genesis Apocryphon suggests that by being exiled from paradise, Adam and Eve initiated a new cycle of human existence, where free will and the pursuit of knowledge became the essence of humanity's journey. Instead of remaining in a state of dependency, they were cast into a world where every discovery and every choice would shape their destiny. And what if this event was not a punishment, but rather a necessary transformation? Leaving Eden may not have been merely an act of divine justice, but a milestone in humanity's spiritual evolution. The forbidden knowledge was only the first step, and perhaps the true journey is still unfolding today, as we continue to seek our origin, our purpose, and our ultimate destiny. In this context, angels appear as central figures, mediators between humanity and the Creator, playing a vital role in the transmission of divine wisdom. They are not mere observers or passive messengers, but active beings in the process of shaping humanity, helping to impart essential knowledge for existence. The Apocryphal Genesis mentions the presence of celestial beings who descended to Earth to instruct the first humans about the nature of existence, revealing to them the mysteries of the heavens and the cycles of the earth. These teachings were not just about the natural laws of the world, but also about the cosmic secrets, offering a profound understanding of divine mysteries that were beyond human comprehension. However, the story of angels is not a simple tale of benevolent guides. Not all angels remained faithful to their divine mission. Instead, some began to question their position and their relationship with humanity, leading to a cosmic rupture. The Book of Enoch, one of the most fascinating apocryphal texts, expands this narrative by describing the fall of the Watchers, a group of angels who, in disobedience to God, descended to earth and taught humans forbidden secrets, which led to the rise of ancient civilizations and a lineage of hybrid beings known as the Nephilim, Genesis 6:4. These Watchers, according to the Book of Enoch, were angels assigned to watch over the earth and its inhabitants, but many of them were seduced by curiosity and the desire to interact with humans more intimately. They began to share forbidden knowledge, teaching the arts of war, magic, astrology, and metallurgy, skills that, in the celestial realm, were considered exclusive to the gods. While this teaching was fascinating to humanity, it violated divine order and brought catastrophic consequences. By giving humans this forbidden knowledge, the Watchers not only altered the course of history, but also gave rise to a lineage of hybrid beings known as the Nephilim. The Nephilim, described in Genesis 6:4, are referred to as giants or beings of a hybrid nature, born from the union of the fallen angels and human women. The biblical passage, enigmatic in nature, mentions that the sons of God took wives of the daughters of men, giving rise to a race of giants who ruled over the ancient world. However, the Nephilim were not merely a biological curiosity, but represented something much deeper and more dangerous to the balance between the divine and the human. They were seen as a direct threat to the purity of creation, beings who carried within them the celestial imprint of the angels, but were, at the same time, part of humanity, and thus immersed in the sin and corruption of the earthly world. This hybrid lineage caused cosmic chaos, as it not only affected the natural order of human generations, but also created a race of giants that defied the laws of divine creation. The corruption of the Nephilim spread, and with it the destruction of ancient civilizations, as these powerful beings imposed their rule over the lands and governed with a force that destabilized the pillars of the ancient world. But what makes this narrative even more impactful is that the Watchers, upon descending to Earth, did not act merely as instructors, but as direct participants in the creation of a new order of beings that were beyond human comprehension. This intervention was not just a moral transgression, but a violation of the cosmic order established by God, who, upon seeing the growing corruption, decided that it was necessary to intervene directly to restore balance. The story of the Watchers and the Nephilim presents a powerful reflection on the consequences of seeking forbidden knowledge and crossing boundaries that were set by divine wisdom. By giving humanity the ability to understand cosmic and hidden secrets, the fallen angels gave ancient civilizations the power to create, but at the same time brought destruction and corruption. The lineages of the Nephilim represented the corruption of creation, blending the divine with the earthly and creating a distorted reality where power and wisdom could be used destructively. The presence of these beings, their teachings, and their fall not only formed the basis for the legends of ancient civilizations, but also raised deep questions about the role of knowledge in human evolution. To what extent should knowledge be shared with humanity? And what happens when that knowledge becomes a weapon of destruction rather than a tool for enlightenment and growth? These questions, addressed in the apocryphal texts, echo to this day, challenging us to reflect on the limits of what we should seek, learn, and understand about the divine world and the universe around us. The Apocryphal Genesis, by expanding on the traditional account of creation and the interaction between celestial beings and humans, suggests that the relationship between these two entities was complex and full of challenges, more so than the canonical texts typically reveal. The influence of the fallen angels on humanity, as described in the Book of Enoch, was not isolated but resulted in a series of lasting consequences for human lineages. The Apocryphal Genesis also hints that certain human lineages were preserved and chosen for a divine purpose, in part because they were considered more pure, free from the contamination of the fallen angels and their corrupting influence. These purified lineages, or more specifically, those that did not have direct descent from the Nephilim, became central to the continuity of humanity according to the divine plan. The idea that blood purity was a criterion for preservation in a world where the corruption of the Nephilim was growing brings forth a fundamental element in the apocryphal narrative, the preservation of humanity's spiritual integrity. This suggests that within the view of the Apocryphal Genesis, the lineage that remained pure was not just a matter of absence of sin, but also of not being contaminated by an undue celestial interference, which had created distortions in creation. The clearest example of this preservation is Noah, a central figure in Genesis and several apocryphal texts. Genesis 6 verse 9 describes Noah as a just man and perfect in his generations, a phrase that, according to the apocryphal traditions, carries a connotation of ancestral purity more than simply an exemplary moral behavior. What would it mean to be perfect in his generations? It could actually refer to the idea that Noah possessed an immaculate lineage, which had not been contaminated by the fallen Nephilim. The word generations here suggests that over several generations, Noah's lineage had been preserved from any mixture with the corrupting forces that had dominated the world. In the context of the Apocryphal Genesis, this preservation of lineage would be a way for God to ensure the continuation of humanity, without the impure intervention of fallen celestial beings. Thus, Noah's perfection is not only about his moral uprightness, but also about his genetic purity, a reflection of his direct and uncorrupted lineage. This reinforces the idea that Noah was chosen not just because of his uprightness, but because he represented a possibility for the renewal of humanity, free from the contamination of sin and the external influences that had distorted the original creation. But what about this perfection of Noah, which many associate with his moral uprightness? Could it also intertwine with his genetic purity or his freedom from the taint of the rebellious angels? In a world where corruption and degeneration were spreading, with fallen angels teaching humans forbidden secrets and creating hybrid descendants, it is possible that Noah was preserved precisely because of his lineage, so that humanity could begin anew from a pure point, free from the contamination of fallen celestial forces. This raises an even deeper question about the relationship between the divine plan and human action. If Noah was chosen for being pure in his generations, it suggests that God was preserving humanity not just spiritually, but also physically. protecting it from a genetic corruption that could have been caused by the intervention of the rebellious angels. In this sense, Noah's Ark was not merely a means of escaping the flood, but also a way to preserve the original purity of the human race, restoring the connection to the divine purpose. Ultimately, this question about Noah's perfection challenges us to view the biblical story from a new perspective. Noah's perfection may be understood as both a reflection of his morality and a preservation of his pure lineage, free from the influence of the fallen beings who had corrupted the earth. The purification of the world that occurred through the flood, with Noah and his family being preserved, was not just about cleansing the land of moral sin, but also about restoring genetic and spiritual integrity, allowing the human story to continue without the distortion of celestial intervention. The Apocryphal Genesis offers a fascinating and deeply mystical perspective on the Garden of Eden, suggesting that more than just a physical location in the ancient world, it was a sacred dimension, a point of intersection between the celestial world and the earthly realm, where the divine and human coexisted in harmony. However, this harmony was broken with the expulsion of Adam and Eve, an event that, according to the apocryphal text, not only resulted in the loss of immortality for the first humans, but also severed their access to a higher spiritual plane. The expulsion from Eden, with the placement of cherubim and the flaming sword to guard the way to the tree of life, would indicate that the garden was not simply a physical location, but also a gateway to a spiritual realm, a higher domain that remains hidden from us ever since. In Genesis 3:24, the Bible describes that God placed cherubim to guard the way to the tree of life, and a flaming sword revolved on all sides to prevent Adam and Eve's access. This powerful imagery suggests the idea of a spiritual gate that separates the world of mortals from the divine realm, with Eden representing more than just a terrestrial garden. It would represent a sacred and impassable space where the divinity directly touched creation, maintaining humanity's connection with eternity. When cast out of Eden, humanity lost not only access to the earthly paradise, but was also distanced from a higher spiritual domain, which could have been a reflection of access to immortality and divine wisdom. The placement of cherubim and the flaming sword indicates an active protection of this portal, suggesting that access to the celestial realm was blocked permanently. This gesture represented not only a physical barrier, but also a spiritual one, aimed at preventing access to the tree of life, and thereby keeping humanity away from a dimension of immortality and divine knowledge that was no longer within their reach. The flaming sword didn't just guard the way physically, but it also prevented passage into the kingdom of God, a kingdom where humans could have had access to immortality and divine wisdom. This raises an intriguing question. Could the Garden of Eden be a true entrance to a spiritual dimension that still exists, hidden from us? In many mystical and esoteric traditions, Eden is seen not merely as a lost physical place in history, but as a representation of a higher spiritual state, a space that connects the material world with the divine, where humans before the fall lived in perfect harmony with God and with creation. The expulsion of Adam and Eve, according to the Apocryphal Genesis, thus symbolizes not just the loss of innocence, but also the separation from a higher spiritual dimension, where man had direct union with the Creator. The expulsion would mean the loss of direct access to heaven, to the very spiritual realm, which was now out of reach and protected by powerful celestial forces. The fact that cherubim were placed to guard the way to the tree of life also suggests that this access was not simply a matter of physical space, but rather a spiritual dimension that remains out of reach of humans since that time. In the context of the Apocryphal Genesis, this idea can be expanded to suggest that the Garden of Eden was a gateway to another plane of existence, a higher domain where eternal life and divine knowledge were at hand. Thus, the expulsion of Adam and Eve would represent not just a physical separation, but a transition to a state of limited existence, where humanity lost the ability to access a higher realm of knowledge, wisdom, and immortality. But this separation isn't permanent. According to various esoteric traditions and apocryphal texts, the concept of the return to Eden is central to many spiritual narratives. The Lost Garden thus symbolizes the humanity's constant search for return to original perfection, to unity with God, and the reconquest of access to the lost spiritual plane. Some believe that the way back to Eden is tied to a spiritual transformation that, though hidden, is still possible to attain, perhaps through purification or higher knowledge that remains beyond humanity's immediate grasp. Therefore, the Garden of Eden, described in the Apocryphal Genesis, may be more than a lost physical place in history. It may be seen as a spiritual dimension, a hidden plane that transcends earthly space-time, and that, though inaccessible to humanity since the fall, remains a symbol of the connection between the divine and human, a space of perfection and immortality that, throughout history, has been sought as a spiritual ideal, a representation of what humanity might have achieved but lost due to the original transgression. The Apocryphal Genesis also adds layers of depth to the communication between the early patriarchs and the angels, shedding light on the continuous and intimate relationship between the heavenly and earthly realms. A fascinating example of this is Abraham, whose figure holds a central place in both biblical and apocryphal traditions. According to these texts, Abraham was not only a man of faith, but also someone who received profound visions and cosmic revelations about the workings of the universe and the spiritual realms. These visions were a medium through which the angels, or divine messengers, imparted to Abraham esoteric knowledge about creation and the mysteries of the cosmos. In Genesis 18, we find the famous passage where Abraham receives the visit of three men, who are later revealed to be divine messengers. This visit, initially seeming simple, takes on a new perspective in light of the Apocryphal Genesis. Apocryphal texts suggest that these interactions with celestial beings were not mere chance encounters or isolated events, but rather part of a continuous communication between Abraham and the angels, through which he was instructed on the universe and divine plans. These beings were not only emissaries of God, but were entrusted with conveying to Abraham cosmic knowledge, revealing to him the functioning of the spiritual realms and the universal laws governing both the material and spiritual worlds. The episode of the three men visiting Abraham is emblematic, for according to the Apocryphal Genesis, they were not mere human travelers, but angels in physical form, a manifestation of the divinity that descended to earth to directly interact with human beings. The explanation of the cosmos and divine order provided to Abraham during this encounter indicates that the patriarch did not only possess a direct connection to the celestial realm, but was one of the first to receive teachings about the dimensions of the spiritual realms. These revelations may have been pivotal in Abraham's understanding of his role as the patriarch and spiritual leader, and his capacity to maintain an intimate relationship with the Creator throughout his life. The visit of the three men can also be seen as a representation of the continuous interaction between the earthly and heavenly realms, where the angels play the role of mediators between humanity and God. In the context of the Apocryphal Genesis, these divine messengers were not merely bearers of divine commands, but guided Abraham on his spiritual journey, revealing to him the mysteries of the universe and the secrets of divine realms. According to this view, Abraham's interactions with the angels were a continuous conversation about cosmic knowledge, preparing him to fulfill the grand mission that God had outlined for him as the father of the chosen nation. Additionally, the figure of Abraham is portrayed in the Apocryphal Genesis as someone deeply connected to the angels and spiritual realities. He was not merely a man of faith. He was a receptacle of cosmic revelations, which allowed him to understand the divine purpose on a deeper level. The very fact that Abraham received divine messages on various occasions, such as in the case of the three angels, suggests that he was immersed in a constant cycle of direct communication with heaven, something that goes beyond the occasional interactions described in the traditional Genesis. For Abraham, the angels were more than mere emissaries of God. They were spiritual counselors, guardians of celestial wisdom, who provided him with revelations about the cosmos and divine plans, preparing him for the greatness of his mission. This intimate relationship with the angels and the cosmic visions that Abraham received, such as revelations about the structure of the universe and spiritual laws, helps to explain why he was chosen to found the great nation that would become the people of Israel. The divine instructions that Abraham received were not just about immediate actions, but about a broader understanding of what it meant to live in harmony with God's cosmic plan. He became thus a mediator between heaven and earth, a patriarch who possessed the celestial wisdom needed to guide his people according to the divine purposes. The vision of Abraham as a receiver of revelations about the cosmos also reflects a broader pattern in the Apocryphal Genesis of how the angels function as mediators between man and the divine. In many apocryphal texts, the angels are not merely messengers, but beings who teach humans profound knowledge, such as the workings of the universe and the mysteries of spiritual realms. These teachings go beyond simple morality or divine law, encompassing deeper aspects of cosmic reality, helping the patriarchs understand their role in the universe and their interaction with the divine. Thus, the encounter of Abraham with the three men in Genesis 18 can be seen as a symbol of how the angels and divine knowledge were interconnected with human destiny, not merely as messages of warning or promises, but as cosmic revelations that formed the foundation of Abraham's spiritual vision. This type of interaction was vital not only for Abraham, but also for the continuation of God's covenant with humanity and for the fulfillment of the divine purpose in the world as described in the Apocryphal Genesis. This lost text not only expands the biblical narrative, but also raises unsettling questions about the true nature of our existence and the involvement of angels in human destiny. If we were created with access to the divine and later distanced from this knowledge, what prevents us from rediscovering this path? Were the official records altered to keep us in ignorance? The Apocryphal Genesis found among the Dead Sea Scrolls not only broadens the biblical narrative, but also challenges the traditional understanding of human existence and the role of angels in our destiny. What makes this text even more fascinating is that it suggests humanity from its very beginning was deeply connected with divine knowledge, and that this connection was intentionally interrupted. If the first humans had access to such celestial wisdom, passed on by angels and divine revelations, what happened that caused this connection to be lost? And more importantly, why were we distanced from this wisdom? And what prevents us from rediscovering this path today? The idea that angels, as intermediaries between the divine and humanity, were not merely passive observers, but active teachers, suggests that humanity had a much grander mission than simply inhabiting Earth. According to the Apocryphal Genesis, Adam and Eve were elevated spiritual beings, endowed with cosmic wisdom, making them capable of understanding the workings of the universe. But this ability was taken from them at the moment of their expulsion from the Eden. Thus, the fall was not just the loss of immortality and access to the physical paradise, but also the loss of celestial knowledge, which the first humans possessed. This leads us to question, was this direct connection with the divine truly severed, or is there something deeper happening, something that we as human beings still do not fully understand? At the heart of this narrative arises an even more provocative question. What prevents us from rediscovering this path of knowledge and enlightenment? If in the past humanity had access to these divine revelations, why was this wisdom lost? What happened over time that caused humanity to lose touch with the true understanding of the cosmos, the spiritual workings, and the true nature of the Creator? Some texts suggest that this distancing may have been a gradual process where humanity began to forget or even deny its connection with the divine, distancing itself from the sources of wisdom that were once within its grasp. This loss of knowledge and wisdom may be seen as a reflection of the actions of the fallen angels, who, by descending to Earth and teaching forbidden secrets, not only altered the course of human history, but also directly interfered with humanity's access to divine wisdom. In the Apocryphal Genesis, these angels, known as the Watchers, taught humanity not only the forbidden arts, but also the mysteries of the universe in a way that caused a cosmic rupture between the human and the divine. From this point on, humanity would begin to gradually lose contact with what had originally been offered to them, the direct knowledge of the Creator. However, this distancing may be more complex than simply a loss of access. Some scholars suggest that the official records of the Bible were intentionally modified over the centuries to keep humanity in ignorance. The official tradition, represented by the texts that have reached us, may have been adjusted or censored to prevent certain knowledge from being revealed to the general public. The manipulation of these texts may have been an attempt to preserve power and control over divine knowledge, ensuring that secret revelations remained out of reach for all but the few who were in a position to hold them. If we consider this theory, the question becomes even more intriguing. What truths were hidden from us? What was removed or altered to ensure that humanity would not have access to a deeper understanding of its divine origin and heavenly destiny? The Apocryphal Genesis, by exposing details that are not present in the traditional texts, suggests that there is hidden knowledge which was intentionally suppressed to keep humanity in a state of ignorance about its true nature and its relationship to the cosmos and the Creator. Could this ignorance have been a deliberate strategy to prevent humanity from achieving a complete understanding of its connection with the angels and the divine? Throughout history, there have been many attempts to reconnect humanity with lost knowledge. Various spiritual and esoteric traditions, from early Christianity to mystical currents of the Middle Ages and beyond, have sought to recover this hidden wisdom, which could reveal the cosmic truths about human existence, the nature of sin, and the true mission of humanity in the divine plan. However, even with these efforts, access to this hidden knowledge has been restricted, and many of those who sought deeper revelations faced resistance or even persecution. Today, in an age where information and ideas are more accessible than ever, the question remains open. Can we rediscover this path to divine knowledge? Is there a way to reverse what was lost, to restore the connection with the divine that humanity once had in its early days? The Apocryphal Genesis challenges us to look at our own existence with new eyes, questioning what we know about our origin, what has been revealed to us, and what has been intentionally hidden to keep humanity in a state of spiritual ignorance. The answers to these questions may take us on a deep journey, one that not only challenges us to reconsider what we know about the past, but also about the future of our relationship with the divine and the cosmos. Through the Apocryphal Genesis, the creation story reveals a much deeper and more complex dimension than the traditional version that has been passed down to us. In the forgotten texts, we find clues suggesting that the cosmic mysteries and celestial truths surrounding us go far beyond the superficial understanding we were taught to accept. Every word, every lost passage opens a new portal of comprehension, revealing that humanity has always had a direct connection with the divine, a connection that was taken from us. Perhaps between the lines of these ancient records lie the answers to questions that continue to challenge us to this day. Questions about our true origin, our purpose, and the profound meaning of our existence in this vast universe. The Apocryphal Genesis is not just an expansion of the traditional biblical narrative, but a door to a hidden world where angels play roles that transcend conventional explanations. It calls us to explore not only the mysteries of creation, but also the nature of the lost knowledge and the impact of its revelations on humanity throughout history. The lines of text that have been preserved and those that have been erased challenge us to look at our own lives and the world around us with new eyes. What we know is only a small fraction of what truly happened and what can still be discovered. And you, explorer of the unknown, are you ready to continue this journey? The revelations awaiting the brave are more powerful and transformative than anything you have ever imagined. The portal of the unknown is the place where those who seek the truth, no matter how challenging it may be, can find the keys to unlocking the mysteries that have remained hidden for so long. There are no guarantees of comfort, nor promises of easy answers. What you find on this path could change forever how you see the world and your place within it. Subscribe to the Portal of the Unknown and join the bold who dare to question the established truths. The search for truth is difficult, but it is also illuminating. The revelations ahead may challenge everything you thought you knew about your existence and the universe we live in. The path to forbidden knowledge is now open before you. But as you enter this portal, remember, what you discover may be as powerful as it is dangerous. Do you have the courage to cross this line and face the truth that has been hidden for millennia? The journey is just beginning. What lies ahead may be more revealing than you ever imagined. The unknown calls you.